Hi everybody, we are going to start skill set 2 now. We just finished the turnover of the operating room, and now we're going to open our sterile supplies to create a sterile environment for our next surgery. So this is before every surgery starts. You have to open all of your supplies. Typically this is done by yourself, or you have the help of a circulator or any other staff member to assist you in opening all your supplies. For this skill set, we're only going to open a few supplies in different ways so we can cover all of the elements. So I have arranged the furniture so that I don't contaminate myself or open myself in a corner, as they say. And all of my sterile supplies are back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check and make sure every surface is dry. And if the surface is not dry, there's a drying time that should be done for every chemical in the OR. For this skill set though, we'll just have you wipe down if it is wet, because if you do place a sterile supply on a wet surface, then it will cause strike through, which contaminates the pack. Because we are limited on personal protective equipment or PPE, I do not have a surgical mask on, but before you start this skill set, you should have a bouffant, eye protection, and a surgical mask on. So I'm placing my packs where they go. I'm checking for rips, holes, tears, moisture, expiration date. I'm going to place it right here on my ring stand. Rips, holes, tears, moisture, expiration date. These are my loose supplies that I will open on my back table. I have a suture packet, I have 2 OR gowns, and I have a pair of sterile gloves. For your instruments, you want to make sure that the arrows are there and that there is change in color on the indicator, which is in your textbook. If you have both of those things, you know your cassette or casket is good and you can use it in your OR. For these prep stands, they're a little bit complicated in some facilities, so we decided to purchase these to help you understand how to open a casket on an instrument pan on them. And the best way is to rest them on the handrails or the bar and make sure that it's nice and stable. And you want to have it close to wherever the tech is going to pull that instrument from. So I'm going to move this back. And the distance you want to have between your opening fields are 12 inches, a minimum of 12 inches. After I open the larger packs, you'll see that I move everything close together to prevent me walking through 2 sterile areas. So when you're taking this skill set, the things that we're looking for is contaminations, to understand how to fix those contaminations, and to not walk through 2 sterile fields in the order that you open. Again, I do not have a surgical mask on. That is something that you will have to do the skill set along with the proper eye protection. So I'm just going to move everything out of my way. So that I have plenty of room to open my supplies. There's my trash can right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out of the dust cover. It's the first thing you have to do. You have to remove all dust covers. If you don't, then the risk of dust can fall onto your sterile field. So as I'm doing that, I'm checking the inner package for rips, holes, tears, moisture, expiration date. And I'm going to set this exactly where I'm going to open it. Rips, holes, tears, moisture, expiration date. Set it right in the center, and that's a double ring stand. Some hospitals have a single ring stand. So again, I need a mask before I can open up my OR, but because we are limited on PPE, and for the purpose of this video as well so you can understand what I'm saying, I do not have a mask on. But again, you need a surgical mask before you can do this skill set. So every time you open a sterile field and you are a non-sterile person, everything needs to be away from you. So this is going to be away, and I just let it fall. Let this fall. And I'm going to come to the first fold, and I can bump up to this because it's all wrapped. I'm going to grab the edges as far down as I can. Slowly open, keep my arms low, and just drop it. Staying my 12 inches away. Same thing here. Grab the edges, pull low, and just drop it. Don't worry about the edges or anything like that. The more you move a drape, the more risk of contamination you have. So just let it lie where it lays. So now I'm going to open my next biggest pack, which is my ring stand. So this is where you can catch yourself opening up into a corner, and you want to avoid that. So it's going to be side to side. As I'm taking off the tape, I'm just going to attach it to the rails here, because you're going to have to rewrap these things to do the next skill set. And at the end of this skill set, I'll show you how to rewrap everything. So you want to go side to side, let it fall. You want to open this side first, and you want to be way down here, the edges, and you want to make sure that you're not getting too close to this back table. Now you can come down here and move your furniture, and make sure that the drape is all the way down before you push it up against your back table. So I'm going to squat down 12 inches below the top of my table. And now that I've pushed them both together, I've created a larger sterile area. So now I'm going to work on my mayo stand. So I like to open my sharps on one side of the table, and then I like to open my gowns and gloves on the other side of the table. So you're gonna check for rips, holes, tears, moisture, expiration date. You want to be 12 inches away. Start unwrapping right here, and then just flick it onto the table just like that. You want to keep that 12-inch reach distance, because if you're 12 inches here, I'm reaching over the field. So you want to have a 12-inch reach distance. I'm going to throw this away. Now I'm on to my gloves. Rips, holes, tears, moisture, expiration date. I'm going to open it on this side. So one thing I want to point out is the glue edge of these packages. So right here, you can see the glue edge. If any sterile product slides across the glue edge, it's considered contaminated and should be discarded. If it's already opened on the field, that area has been contaminated and needs to be taken care of by either covering it with an impervious drape, meaning that moisture cannot wick through it, or depending on the surgery, you may have to do redo an entire back table setup. If an item falls on the floor, you should pick it up immediately, but you should never bend down, because if you bend down close to it, you see how close I am? You want to use your foot and slide it, and then you can pick it up 12 inches away from your sterile field. So next I'm going to open up two different gowns. One is going to be on the mayo stand, and one is going to be on the back table. And I'm showing you both techniques because depending on what facility you work at, they may want either or. But remember, textbook is they want you to open your gown on a separate clean surface, and your gloves as well. But because of our area hospitals, we're going to show you how to open up on the back table as well. So I have everything open. This is my last thing to open. So I'm going to hold it with my dominant hand, and I'm going to take the first one away. Back. It's very important that you tuck your hand right here so that the flaps aren't flying. 3, and then the last one. 4. Notice the distance between my face, my back table, and my reach from the product. And then I'm going to put it right on top of my gloves, just like that. And the next one is this right here, and you want to keep your 12-inch distance away from your sterile field. So you're going to start away, side, side, and then to you, making sure you don't touch what's inside and you leave it there. And then the last thing we're going to open is the instrument pan, and we're going to cover where those arrows could pop off. Pop that, pop that, and when you lift, you want to lift up and away so that you don't flip the lid over the sterile instrument pan. And then you want to open up, you want to hold it up to the light. Check for rips, holes, tears, moisture. And you want to lay it back on top because you don't want somebody else to come along and think you didn't check the filters. And do the same thing here. Rips, holes, tears, moisture. And then you're going to rest it underneath the bottom shelf of your prep stand, but you want to be careful that you don't contaminate yourself. And you want to go from a distance. And then you want to peek in to see if you can see your indicator, being careful that you're not leaning over the sterile instrument pan. Now your sterile field is open, and that is skill set 2.